1, 2, 1, 2.
We're just gonna start it. Thug life. All right. Yeah, we're live. All right. So, yeah. Hey, this is the 3/4 Guard podcast. You haven't seen us in a while because we've been busy with life and shit. And now we're coming from Long Island City, New York. And we have really poor lighting, so that's something. I'm really bad at introducing.
Yeah, I realize that.
You're just sitting there with your face so angry.
You were introducing, so I thought it would have been okay.
All right, you know, I'm Shane. That's Eric.
Hello, hi, it's Eric. Welcome.
Take off your radio voice.
3/4 Guard podcast.
Hello, everyone out there in Radio Land.
Well, I can't control it. It comes on and off when it wants to. So yeah, guys, you've been missing us for a couple of weeks now. Maybe what has it been, like 6 weeks or something like that?
Yeah,
almost like 2 months, something like that. Yeah. So obviously we don't have the old studio we used to have. My friend here, Shane, moved his habitational quarters. Don't have a lot of space there, but we've been essentially trying to work on a new studio, a new look for the podcast. And also just coming up with different ways to move the brand forward and maybe think about doing some original content. But that's all to TBD. For now, we were getting tired of having you guys waiting for us. You know, Sundays at noon, I'm sure it felt lonely for you guys. And the 3/4 Guard podcast is here to keep you guys company for brunch.
We're doing this
lunch,
for you, not for us.
You know,
we feel bad.
On your walk of shame home after sleeping with that guy you regret sleeping with. Whichever one it may be. But we're glad that you chose to spend your noon on Sunday with us.
It's very sexist. You're assuming that it's women that are listening who are sleeping with a guy and not a guy listening sleeping with a woman.
Well, men don't feel shame, so that's
accurate.
Nevertheless, a lot of stuff going on. A lot of stuff. As we said before, we're still working on formatting our show. Our location has changed. We're still in New York, and we're still in Queens. But we've got a bit of a smaller quarters here that we're dealing with. So yeah, as the days progress, though, you know, we're going to make it look a little bit more studio-ish here, make look a little bit better. But you know, as Shane mentioned earlier, life happens. We both get busy with things.
Still got little Nick and little Don.
Little Nick and little Don follow us wherever we go. They're still right behind us.
You're really bad at pointing.
I'm really bad at pointing when I'm using a reflection. And once again, as you can see, our lighting and our G&E expertise aren't up to par. I apologize for that. Believe me, I'm very ashamed. But we were like, fuck it. Let's bring the 3/4 Guard podcast back. Because like we said before, consistency is definitely key to growing this brand, and that's what we plan to do. We're going to go back to that, and we're going to keep bringing you a weekly podcast noon at this new location. But yeah, hello once again. Good to see you guys. Any progression we have with the brand, we will definitely keep you guys informed. But for now, let's talk. This last couple of weeks in MMA have been pretty fucking crazy.
Yeah, I don't know what the last thing we ever talked about was. So I'm not even sure. But
well,
recently,
last night Bellator.
Big things for Bellator.
Last night Bellator 206 had a great card.
Yeah,
great card. Not to say that Bellator ever has bad cards, but last night was. Aaron Pico's got a TKO knockout.
Yeah, it's pretty sexy.
The Rampage and Wanderlei trilogy is now fight series is now tied 2-2.
Yeah, it's 4 fights now.
I don't think I've ever has that happened. I think with Arlovsky and Tim Sylvia have had a long saga of fights, but I don't remember anybody else having more than
4.
Yeah, 3 fights before and the fighting or something like that.
Yeah,
but it was interesting. Rampage got the TKO on that one.
Is Tito Chuck? Is that 3 or 4?
It's 3.
That's 3, right? This is the 3rd. Because
Yeah,
they never got the 3rd because Tito got injured during the Ultimate Fighter.
Chuck beat Liddell twice in a row, so there was no need for a 3rd in the UFC.
Chuck beat Liddell.
Chuck beat Tito.
Yes. They didn't need the 3rd fight.
They didn't need a 3rd
but they were going to have it anyway.
I mean, right now, you know, Bellator has the Veterans League, so they
it's not. It's Golden Boy Productions.
Oh yeah, that's true. This is right. This is Golden Boy Productions.
Yes.
Oh yeah, we'll see how that goes. The Golden Boy Productions thing. But yeah, also in terms of Bellator 206 last night, Roy McDonald, the welterweight champion of Bellator, went against the middleweight champion Gegard Mousasi, two former UFC fighters. And yeah, I mean, I thought it was going to be. Everyone thought it was going to be a much closer fight, but apparently Gegard wiped the floor with Rory. He got a TKO stoppage in the second round.
Manhandled him.
Yeah, which is crazy too, because like Rory's not a welterweight. Rory's a welterweight, but he's a pretty big welterweight. He could fight a middleweight. Like, I think this is the first time he's ever fought at 185, though, yeah? Pretty sure it is.
Yep.
This is the first time he's ever fought at, like, 185.
He never fought in 185 of the UFC list.
Yeah, never done that. I don't think he's ever done that in Bellator either. He's just
no.
welterweight.
I mean, he's only had 2 fights in Bellator, I think. So.
Right. Yes.
But he looked... I mean, but he's a pretty big welterweight.
Yeah. No, yeah, that's true. But, I mean, I also forget Gegard Mousasi fought in the light heavyweight division. Gegard Mousasi was, I think, light heavyweight champion in Dream, I think, and maybe a top light heavyweight contender in Strikeforce. But he's used to fighting bigger guys. He's used to fighting guys who are heavier. He probably cuts a lot of weight too, and I guess that just wasn't. I don't know. I guess Roy McDonald couldn't deal with a light heavyweight, which is I think
fair. He started in light heavyweight.
Excuse me.
In the UFC.
Gegard. He fought. Sure he had like one.
What's his face? Gustafsson, buddy,
that's true.
Wrestler.
He did, yeah.
Because he was going to fight Gustafsson, but then Gustafsson got hurt or something, so he fought...
Manua?
No. Who's the little stocky guy?
Josimar Palhares?
No, the light heavyweight. He's ranked. I forget his...
Ilir Latifi.
Yeah, Ilir, yeah.
Latifi.
He fought him.
Yeah.
That was kind of one-sided, but no one really expected him to put up much of a fight, especially on short notice, but... although he's been doing pretty decent recently.
He's been a powerhouse now. He's very much that guy in the light heavyweight division you kind of got to watch out for. He's kind of like I wouldn't say the dark horse, but he could
pull an upset if he needs to.
He could, yeah, absolutely. So yeah, kind of. He's kind of like the dark horse in the light heavyweight division that the UFC never really saw coming.
But yeah, Gegard's a big dude.
Gegard is a big dude. Yeah, definitely. He fought at light heavyweight before, and he definitely used the size and that strength advantage.
And he's an older man. He was giving them the daddy dick.
Mousasi's been in the game for quite some time. He's been, I think he's got like 50 fight,
old man strength,
like a 50 fight tenure, I think, in like MMA. Because I think he's like 43-13 or something, or like 40
something crazy, yeah.
Some big fucking.
He's been around for a long time.
But he's definitely like a veteran in the game, and I guess like I said, Roy McDonald totally underestimated. Moving up 15 pounds to fight somebody.
But in general, I think he's. And I've seen a lot of journalists talk about this, and that he's maybe biting off more than he could chew, Rory. Especially, and he's like, yeah, I'm going to fight the super fight, and then I'm going to do the fucking welterweight tournament.
Whilst defending my belt every round along the way. Apparently, in the Bellator welterweight Grand Prix, the rules are set where Rory McDonald will defend his title at every single step of the way in the brackets. If he loses, said person will obviously be welterweight champion, and then that person will then continue to defend the title until the end of the tournament. But yeah, he definitely has a long 4 months, 5 months ahead of him.
Yeah, now he has to. Crazy. I mean, and especially now like that's got to hurt your confidence.
Yeah, I mean, well, it does. Yes and no, I think, because like we said, Mousasi fought at light heavyweight. So he's definitely bigger than him, and he definitely has that experience there. And at the same time, I mean, Rory came to Bellator for this, to get more experience, to get more money fights, to get, to see where his peak is at. I mean, yeah, it kind of like stops the whole like hype train behind him because he lost, but at the same time, he still lost to somebody who was like bigger than him. Yeah, and he's still like he's still a welterweight champion. And he's still like pretty dominant in that division. So for now, I don't think it. I wouldn't say it doesn't hurt his the way he looks right now, but I wouldn't say it completely crushes it. Because he still fought the middleweight champion.
There's no shame in his in that loss.
And he's the only one doing that. He was literally getting ready to possibly gain the title in another weight class and then defend his title in a tournament. It's crazy. There was like some video and article about how he was like getting ready and preparing for it. I didn't read it, but it's a good read. Probably you should check it out.
It's probably good. All right.
But yeah, Bellator had a really great card last night. If anybody has Days In, the streaming service that's now streaming a bunch of like MMA boxing events. Maybe check it out. I don't know if they have like a replay.
I'm sure they will.
Something like that. But if they do, yeah, check out Bellator 206. I think
it was on DAZN. That was the first.
Is it DAZN or DAZN? Because I say DAZN.
It sounds like DAZN to me.
Yeah, it's like DAZN. Look up the app. It's actually a MMA boxing streaming service, and I think they're gonna stream, or they did stream the Anthony Joshua fight that happened a week ago. So I think they're gonna They might even. Is that where Chuck and Tito 3 is gonna be streamed?
I have no fucking idea.
I think so. Maybe, right?
To be honest, I have no idea.
Regardless of that, Days In or DAZN, whichever one it may be, check it out. And check out Bellator 206. It was a great night of fights. And what about Aaron Pico?
Yeah, he looks solid. He's a wrestler. His striking is looking on point.
Yeah, his striking has definitely gotten better, and they're giving him, like we said before, they're definitely giving him like prospect fighters. They're not just feeding him like random dudes to make him look good. They're actually putting him through the ringer with some past prospects, and he's delivering. He's delivering every which way.
Yeah, and
right now him and was it Rafael Lovato? They're both.
I was gonna say he fought. Was it last week or the week before? Got a nice
Rafael Lovato
submission victory.
Yeah, man.
And they were talking to him like, if he's interested in.
Musasi said that. Yeah, Musasi was like, "Hey, I'll defend the belt against this guy. Why the hell not?" I think he might.
Maybe that's his next fight.
It might be. It's gonna be a tough fight. That's that guy. That's a very interesting fight because they have very similar styles. They're both crazy grapplers on the ground, crazy with the jiu-jitsu, and their striking. Their striking is fucking on point. I think Gegard maybe has more of a. Obviously, he has more
on the feet. I think he's got the advantage.
Well, I was gonna say and in terms of like fighting, and he has the veterans advantage because he has more experience and stuff like that. But it should definitely pay for an interesting fight if that is the next middleweight championship fight in Bellator.
I don't think he's gonna be able to manhandle Rafael Lovato like that though.
Rafael Lovato's fucking huge. Rafael Lovato, you're going from Roy McDonald, like, who I'm not saying is a small guy, but he's like 6 feet and he could be a middleweight, to fighting a guy who's a legit light heavyweight. It's like 6'4", 6'5". Homie's like essentially like I think Luke Rockhold's height. He's a big fucking guy, and he's
thick.
He cuts. All right. He cuts mad weight to get down to He cuts mad weight to get down to middleweight, and yeah, it's. I feel like everything I'm gonna say now, you're just gonna say thick.
Thick.
But yeah, we'll see how that goes. Bellator has a lot of exciting things coming up. They also have Fedor Emelianenko versus Chael Sonnen coming up. We saw the poster for that. Saw the poster for that. Chael Sonnen wore like Apollo Creed's getup.
Oh yeah,
Apollo Creed fought like Ivan Drago.
Hey man, this is America versus Russia right here, bro.
I guess so. Yeah, I guess this is America versus Russia.
This is for all the marbles.
Yeah, that's what they're doing.
Whoever wins this wins the world.
Yeah, whoever wins this wins the Cold War. Finally. I was wondering when that war was going to be won by who.
And Douglas Lima with the nice finish
Lima comes
over
back and
Koreshov. That's how you spell. That's how you say
Koreshov, and that was their second bout. In their first bout, Koreshov.
Actually, this is I think it was the third.
Is it?
Yeah.
How many times did
This is their third. Let's see, Koreshov, Lima.
Did Koreshov win twice?
He's the one that beat.
As I know, Koreshov beat him for the title. He took the title from Douglas Lima. I don't know if they had a second fight. I'm not 100% sure. Maybe you can turn that on.
Dougie. What?
The second screen you got.
It's not going to do anything.
Oh, no, but to look through stuff, I mean.
Oh, it's only one. Only one's plugged in, because that's. Yeah. We're working on stuff.
Stupid.
We're trying to figure the best setup.
Life is occurring with us right now, so things are being unfortunately put on hold. But don't worry, ladies and gentlemen.
So yeah, he beat so this was the trilogy basically. It was like a trilogy because Koreshov beat him for the welterweight strap
the first time,
and then he beat Koreshov for the welterweight strap, and this was this part of the Grand Prix or part of the tournament.
Yeah. But I think Douglas Lima, the second time he won, was it by decision or was it by?
It was KO.
Oh, KO.
He lost by decision and then won by KO, and now he won by submission.
there you go.
So
I do remember that Koreshov, like, they went the distance in the first fight. I guess
he
that's
put
what
him,
I was
he put
remembering.
him to sleep yesterday.
He wouldn't. That's what happens when you don't tap.
He's a warrior.
That's what happens when you don't tap, son. You get put to sleep, or you lose a limb. Don't let your pride fuck with you, boy. Cut the brain cells cut the blood going to your head. Get them brain cells dead.
At least you just fall asleep, though. You know, I feel like I'd rather get choked out than knocked out.
No, what do you?
Yeah,
you're stopping the air from going to your brain.
I heard it's
when
safer.
Choking somebody out.
It's safer.
I mean,
for your brain.
But if you keep a hold of, like, let's say a choke.
Oh no, too long. Yeah.
You keep a hold of that. Let's say even a second or two long. It totally fucks someone.
No, it wasn't.
But no, I could agree. Getting knocked out is definitely either one. I think it's dangerous, but I don't know. Just something about cutting off someone's circulation air and then keeping it like that a little too long could just kill somebody.
I've seen some really bad calls by the refs.
Yeah, by refs who don't they have really.
You know what's been scaring me lately is Herb Dean, man. He's had some really bad calls, but not really necessarily submission, but TKOs. No, the last year he's had some kind of bad ones, but the last one was the CB Dalloway. That was bad.
That was like I think I was at UFC Sao Paulo, right?
Was that? Yeah, recently.
Yeah, that went on last week. Who was CB Dalloway going against?
It was a newish guy, I think, but CB Dalloway even came out and said he was like he doesn't feel safe.
Yeah, I don't feel like they helped me out. I don't feel like blah blah this that there. Like damn, like I mean, here's the thing too. It's very
Khalid Murtazaliev.
Yeah, that's a totally new guy.
New dude.
But
no, that was in Russia. Sorry, that wasn't. That
was in Moscow.
That was the Hunt Olenek.
Okay. That was
right. That dude's looking good, Olenek.
Yeah, man, he's
got that choke.
Tapped out Hunt. But, I mean, that was the way he was going to beat Hunt, unless he took a punch from Hunt, too. Holy shit, he took an overhand right from Hunt, right on the chin, kept going like it was nothing.
Hunt's on his way out, man.
Yeah, but, I mean...
He's a warrior. He's not going to go out for...
His power's not.
He's going to fight as long as he can.
He should have knocked out Olenek with that punch. Olenek took that shit like a motherfucker.
I guess that's the thing about Hunt, though, too. Hunt is not, like, the most well-rounded fighter.
Right.
He's going to... He'll probably knock your ass out if you keep fighting, stand up with him, but...
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, Herb Dean was chosen to
he's gonna do the Khabib
Khabib fight.
That's another topic. They got that fight next week. 6 days from today. That's gonna be legit.
Real quick though,
legit. Oh, yeah.
With the reps and stuff like that, I just feel like the reps. Not that they catch a bad rep, because there are definitely some reps that are like, all right, you're a little much, and you got to go learn some shit. But I'll be honest, sometimes it's difficult.
Yamasaki, baby.
Sometimes it's difficult to tell if it's difficult to tell like when when someone's TKOing or like somebody's blocking their head. Because sometimes the referee will literally I've seen this happen before where the person TKOing said individual on the ground will look at the referee like,
I've never heard of the person that's TKOing is doing the TKOing.
Said individual. Yeah, the TKOer.
Okay.
So towards the TKOE. You see them on top of the person. I've seen Jose Aldo do this a lot, and I forget who else. They'll
you think
hit
they
the person over the head, but they'll look at the ref like, "Hey ref, I just hit this guy 5 times," and even though the guy's kind of covering himself a little bit and trying to figure out how to get out of it, a ref will stop that fight.
Oh, you think he's doing it on purpose, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
He's like, you should call us. You should.
Yeah, he's like, you should call this. I'm hitting this guy 4 or 5 times, and some referees are like, yeah, but he's kind of defending a little bit intelligently, and he's kind of moving around. I think maybe he thought CB Dalloway was doing that. I mean, it's but at certain points, it was really like, hey, you need to stop this fight. Even the announcers.
But he wasn't intelligently defending himself. He was literally laying there, and his legs were flattened out. He was just
but it's really,
head covered, turtled up.
Just kick the table for a second. But but what's so messed up is this is literally. If you fuck up once as a referee, especially in MMA, that's it. You fucked up. You're on everyone's shit list. Herb Dean, for a while, was one of their whatchamacallit, one of their most experienced referees that they've had there. For the longest time, everybody's like, fuck yeah, Herb Dean is the man. Whenever Herb Dean does something, it's always great calls and blah, blah, this is that and the third. Gets 1 or 2 bad calls. Worst referee in the world. God damn you, referee. The referee's job is definitely important, but they get a lot of shit for messing up even once.
That's it's not an easy job, and it's an unforgiving,
not an easy job.
Unforgiving job.
It's what's the word? It's a thankless job.
Thankless, yes.
It's a thankless job. The referees are the PAs of the MMA world.
God bless the brave men and women out there.
He will be reffing next week's most anticipated bout, possibly of all time. Even though there hasn't been any media for it at all.
No, there's been some promos, and there was one press conference. I heard they were going to do a second press conference, but I haven't seen any follow-up on that, and the fucking fight is in 6 days, so I kind of doubt they're going to do that.
They might have one right before it. Like, they'll have one, like, on Monday or Tuesday kind of thing. Like, right, the regular press conference that they have of, like, everyone else. I'm sure that's what they mean.
Yeah.
But, I mean, this is supposed to be, like, the biggest fucking fight in UFC history. I definitely see it as that. I feel like there's always a bit of a confusion, though, when people say this is going to be the biggest fight and this is going to be the best fight. Because there's a lot of people talking to me about the fight, and they're like, yo, man, the fight's going to be great. It's going to be 5 minutes of them, like, beating each other up, and blah, blah, this and that. It's like, I'm like, that fight's going to go one of two ways. Conor McGregor is going to knock out Khabib in the first or second round, or Khabib is going to wrestle Conor for 3 to 5 rounds until McGregor either gets subbed out or he just gets TKO'd. And yeah, because it's just when you get to a point of like the striking caliber that McGregor has and to a point of a wrestling caliber that Khabib has, there's only one of those two ways that like a fight like that could go. Khabib's striking is not on par with McGregor. Regardless of what the Mac Life
opposite
says,
of each other.
Regardless of what the Mac Life says, his grappling is not, absolutely not on Khabib's level.
I think the camera moved it.
Camera moved.
Let's just fix that again.
Just happened to be like that, and I was like, let me stop.
Okay. And we're back.
Yeah, that's better. But yeah, I think, and whatever the Mac Life people might be telling you, like, you know, Dylan Francis. Did I just say Dylan Francis?
R.I.P.
But yeah, like it's
Dylan Dennis.
The people, Dylan Dennis. There you go. Thank you. The people in his at CBG will say that he's the greatest grappler in the world. SBG. What's wrong with me today?
I don't know. Brain farting all over the place.
Artem Lobov, the GOAT,
Stinks
of course, said that, you know, that McGregor can out-grapple Khabib on the ground. But, you know, Artem has been known to
it's a little
flap
biased,
his gums when he shouldn't.
Ooh.
Wink, wink. But, yeah, I mean, everybody seems to think this is going to be one of those kinds of fights that are going to be back and forth about this and that. Like, it's only going to go one of two ways. And right now, Conor, like a lot of people are saying it online too, Conor seems to be very unhinged. Like, Conor's back, and Conor's back in like a big way. Like, Conor is doing the mind games that he does, and he's going in on the mind games with Khabib. He's talking about his dad.
He's been doing some very personal stuff.
Very, very personal, because he's trying to get in there, man. You can't, like, a wrestler like Khabib, like, they have all that mental, mental lockdown. Like, you gotta fuck with a motherfucker's head to really get in there. Especially Khabib, he knows his grappling is better than McGregor's. So he knows he has that over him. If Khabib gets the mental advantage, gets into his head, makes him angry, makes him maybe try to fight him and strike with him in the first round, that's where Conor will shine. This is all a part of a game plan by a master genius, or a fucking comic book villain, if you will. Either way, McGregor is both of them.
Don't forget to, get yourself some Proper 12 for the fight.
Wait, what?
Proper 12 whiskey.
Ah! Yeah, I want to try that, actually. Yeah, he does have a new whiskey that's out. I'd like to try that.
Yeah, it was so funny. He was plugging the shit out of that during the press conference.
Yeah. I feel like I need to lean back while I'm talking.
Distracted. Why?
So that the light can hit my face.
Oh, yeah, I don't even care anymore.
I'm going to be like... I'm going to be like Biggie Smalls.
Getting some sun here.
Yeah. Yeah, that should be a great... Oh, my God. There's flare coming from your face because you're so pasty.
Yeah, pasty and shiny.
But yeah, I mean, that's coming up next week, 2/29, Las Vegas, biggest fight of the ever, apparently. It's crazy too because McGregor's not doing that much media, it's almost like the fight isn't really happening. I don't know. There's like
it's not as much press
I feel like this week is definitely
promo around a McGregor
this week
fight.
Is definitely going to pick up because of fight week. I'm going to be watching shit all day, even if I'm at work. I got to watch my shit. But I'm going to be watching like gonna be tweeting and all that shit and making sure that I'm up to par with like.
So Ariel a couple of days ago said that there was a second press conference planned for Thursday in Vegas.
That's the regular. So. Yeah, that's the press conference that always happens though. That's like, remember they always have like the pre-fight press conference, then they have the weigh-ins the next day, then they have the fight. I thought it was like an unplanned press conference.
But it's gonna be open to the public, I guess, is the big part. But yeah,
I don't know why did they close it to the public in New York? I don't know. That doesn't make any sense to me. I don't know. Why they
it's
did
weird.
That. Seemed really weird when they did that.
Maybe they thought like, oh, it's gonna get crazy because there's gonna be all these Irish fans and Russian fans that are gonna be fighting each other.
Isn't that what they want? Why wouldn't they want that? They don't have any promotion coming out of McGregor's camp, so what they want is fan hype. If they had a bunch of people there, a bunch of people in friggin' New York City, they're like, whoa, what's going on? What's with all these people? Like, oh, Conor McGregor's fighting this guy. What? I feel like there's plenty of MMA hobbyists that know the fight's happening, but not like, they're not, like I said, not on it as much as they have been other past McGregor fights. One thing I will give him though, it seems like he's definitely taking the training and definitely taking the fight seriously. It's not like he's letting any of this like money and fame go to his head, and he's keeping to his. I mean, he's kind of pulling the same thing he did when he fought Nate Diaz the second time. And he's like, no, I want to train for this guy. I want to make sure I get my game plan right. I want to make sure I stick to that game plan. Like, he's taking this very, very seriously. And you know what's insane? What I just realized? This is going to be Conor McGregor's first ever title defense.
Well, it's not a defense because he's not actually the champion. Officially.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
It's Khabib's. Khabib's the champ.
So Khabib will defend his title before Conor McGregor has defended any title in the UFC.
Although if you ask Conor, obviously he's the champion. And he was never defeated for his belt.
No.
But he was stripped of it.
He was stripped of it, yeah.
I know, though, he brought both belts to the press conference.
I saw that.
And somebody was talking about like how, I think when they went to go do the stare down, Dana White was like, yeah, get Conor his belts. Get Conor's belts or something.
Well, yeah, because they have to. They're trying to make it that. This is still a fight for the lightweight belt, but this is
supposed to be a super fight.
This is a money fight because Conor McGregor is the money fight guy. That's why. I mean, it's smart on Dana's part, and also there's another thing with the promos, like the trailers leading up to it that UFC has been putting. How they've been putting footage of like the bus attack and all that stuff. People have been saying that that's been in bad taste. I kind of agree.
I mean, it's part of the story.
Yeah, it's part of the story. I mean, yeah, it's fucked up for Rose Namajunas and like everybody else who like, because apparently like unfortunately for Rose Namajunas, she faced like some post trauma from it.
Yeah, and, she almost missed her fight.
When she sees like, I think when they had mentioned like when she sees clips of what happened, she kind of gets like uneasy and nervous and just gets like flashbacks of that stuff. I mean, that happens to some people.
Borg had his hand, I think.
Yeah, I mean that's
or something. Like Kesa couldn't fight. Kesa's suing him apparently for like $1 million or something.
Hey man, why the fuck not? Get the fucking money.
Get his money, right?
Get that. Was it 12 proper? Get that 12 proper money.
That's 12 proper 12.
There you go.
And then he was like, but yeah, I'm sure behind the scenes the guys were like, in front of the cameras they were like, bad Conor. I can't believe he did that, this, and that. And then, like, when the cameras are off, they're like, oh, this is going to make great promo.
Absolutely. Footage. Yeah, because, I mean, right now, like I said, because there's no promo leading up to it, because McGregor's hasn't been doing any media at all.
The first promo they had was using that. So.
Huh?
First promo they had was using that.
No, but I mean, that's why I feel like they're putting so much emphasis on it and why they're not backing down from, like, because a lot of people are, like, expressing, especially the UFC fighters are talking about how, like, hey, this is in bad taste, UFC, what the fuck are you doing? And they're like, well, it's part of the story. I'm like,
I mean, there's also a lot of interesting stuff that nobody knows about that Conor's, talking about, like, how the shit about Khabib, and Khabib was, like, taking all this money from these guys, and, like, how he's, like, working with this Chechenian guy or something, and, like, I don't know. There's like a lot of weird story there. So they try and, I guess, add some context there and make it a little more personal. And Khabib he was talking about Khabib's dad. Khabib dad, he'll officially, he won't be there.
Yeah, he was denied a visa. That sucks.
Yeah, so I wonder how that's gonna affect Khabib.
I mean, he's been there before without his father.
I wonder if any of these tricks are going to bother Khabib.
All, if not most of his fights, he had in except for the title fight against Ally Quinta. I think all of his other fights he didn't have his father with him because he didn't get a visa. I'm pretty sure it's not the first time that's happened. That's why I don't think it'll affect him like crazy like that.
Yes, I don't know how well these mind games are going to work against Khabib. I think that's why he was making it so personal, because he was like, Khabib seems to be like a pretty stone-faced, like a stoic character. Like, he's like, I gotta get really under his skin without talking some.
I mean, one thing McGregor's great at is definitely getting under people's skin.
It's definitely different.
Finding a way to get under people's skin, unless you're Floyd Mayweather. But yeah, man, he finds a way to get under there.
Well, that was more just shit talk from both of them. Although he got under his skin really good, but
that was two clowns coming at each other. That was two trolls trolling each other.
Yeah. With Aldo, it was just like, like a year straight of just, shit talking and all these different press conferences where he's constantly fucking talking shit and getting in his head. And
that's the thing too. Like, I feel like maybe it wasn't. I guess I see where he's coming with it. Like, if McGregor wants to concentrate on his training, definitely do that. But I feel like if he did more promotion and he told the UFC, like, hey, let's make sure Khabib is there too, he probably could have, like, jabbed at him a lot more. Let's say if they had, like, the kind of thing that him and Jose Aldo had. Maybe not like a global tour, but something like a, just something small that happened like a month ago. If he was digging at Khabib for, like, a month and getting at him, he probably would have a better chance of Khabib, like, coming at him and playing into the mind games that he's presenting to him. But I mean, if he's concentrating on his training and he's trying to get better with that, I mean, do your own thing, Hopefully it works out for you, buddy. I really hope it does.
Yeah.
But technically, if Conor loses this fight, he will technically have been the worst champion in the history of the UFC. Because he won the featherweight belt, he won the lightweight belt. He was stripped of the featherweight belt, and he was stripped of the lightweight belt. He never defended either one. And then in his first fight, to actually legitimize himself as the #1 lightweight in the world, he loses it to Khabib, an undefeated guy. I don't know. It's just like, I feel like maybe it was the worst step for UFC to take, because now it's like, oh, your first champ. Oh, but he vacated both titles, and he didn't defend either one.
Well, I mean, it's between them two, like, McGregor's taking his time off, and UFC is like, he's like, he's got to fight, right? So who's he going to fight? Well, he's got to fight Khabib. It only makes sense.
How many people, I feel like, but there's, like, so many people out there that can do that can go from one weight class to another, one fight after the other. Remember how we spoke about this before, that we said, like, there's kind of, like, invincible brackets in matchmaking? And it's like, you'll fight somebody, and we talked about how, like...
you mean, like, you think he was getting favorable fights?
Well, I absolutely think he was getting favorable fights, but that's like a kind of a different topic.
Well, he's never fought a wrestler except for Chad Mendes
on 2 weeks' notice.
Short notice, yeah.
Yeah, on 2 weeks' notice.
And I think Chad did take him down.
Chad took him down twice.
Twice?
Took him down twice with ease, and it was just like Conor was able to get him tired though. Like, while he was like on the bottom, somehow he was able to get him like really tired, and that fucked him up. But fuck, I forgot the point I was making with this. Yeah, but he never defended the featherweight title. He won the interim, then won the undisputed, then moved up to lightweight to beat Alvarez, won the lightweight belt, and then he went to fucking box Floyd Mayweather. Like, he never defended either belt. I don't know. For me, it's like you're not a real champion until you defend your belt, and he didn't defend either belt.
Yeah,
and he got both belts taken away from him. I don't know, but just like when you think about it, let's say in like 10 years, when you look back at the champions of MMA, or like even in 20 years, you look back at the champions that we had now, and you're talking about like maybe the greatest of all time, or like certain champions that need to be put into like the record books. Conor McGregor's name will be put in the record books because he was the first double champ, but he didn't defend his belt. He didn't defend either one. Like, he didn't do anything. He literally just won both belts for the money and then kind of like lost. So I don't know. It just kind of like speaks for almost like the matchmaking in a way that like UFC was presenting in this time, and it almost like kind of like, what were they doing back there that this guy won 2 belts, didn't defend either one, and then vacated both of them? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, it's not like he's like one of those fighters like Anderson Silva or GSP, and they had this like
dominant tear going on.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. Right now, I mean, it's not to say that Conor McGregor isn't a world-class fighter. He's definitely a world-class fighter. He's a great fighter.
But if he does beat Khabib, it's like that he has a different kind of. He would be having this different kind of dominance. Like, it's almost different because it's like he picks and chooses these giant fights, and he goes in and he performs.
It's true.
And it's kind of like how it's been for him. It's like,
which happens
he'll take off time between fights.
It's true.
Obviously, aside from the first Nate fight, which was his first loss, or I guess his second loss in general, but first the UFC. But since then, it's just been like, yeah, I'm gonna fight you, I'm gonna beat you. I'm gonna fight you, I'm gonna beat you. And it'll take like a year in between fights and whatever.
Connor's biggest tool is his talking. Connor's biggest tool is getting attention from people. But, yeah, and the UFC knows this. That's why, I mean, they put him in these fights, and he always delivers, so that's just another thing. Darren Till was trying to do that, too. Just Darren Till didn't deliver with Woodley. Woodley
already trying to call his shot.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, something. I think it was like a.
I mean, after Woodley dominated Darren Till the way that he did, I'm right now thinking like, all right, Woodley is on his way to be possibly the GOAT. I feel like depending on his performance against Colby Covington or Kamaru Usman, whoever he goes against next, depending on that, like, you know, performance.
Woodley,
if he, like,
Woodley
knocks
broke
the person
something,
out,
right? Huh? I think he like hurt his hand or something.
I think so. Yeah. So
he's out for the rest of the year, I think.
Yeah.
But no, I was saying that he called out Conor already. I think he was saying like if Conor beats Khabib, like I'll whoop his ass at 170. He wants to come up to 170.
It's gonna be. I feel like that's gonna be another Mousasi.
Yeah, I don't think that's smart. I don't think him fighting Woodley is because Woodley is a big dude and he's not a tall welterweight, but he's a big, like, he's a wide welterweight.
Wide as fuck. He's as big as the Thing.
And
he's like a miniature of the Thing.
And especially as, you know, a big, not just a big, you know, a strong wrestler, but a strong wrestler that's way bigger than you. That's not.
I used to remember before, like I would always have a problem with Tyron Woodley and the way he came up because I always felt like, oh, him getting into the welterweight picture just did it a little like beating Carlos Condit the way he did, and like, you know, Dong Young Kim hitting him in the back of the head when he was doing a spinning, just like happened to capture him or whatever like that. I was looking back at the old fights though, and like I probably spoke a little bit too soon.
I mean,
I've never shat on him and his abilities. I've always thought like, all right, he does deserve to be a top welterweight in the world, but I feel like a particular performance, like, yeah, I am the top welterweight, and this is why, was always missing from there. Until you saw him going against Stephen Wonderboy. I mean, yeah, they were like boring at times, but he still landed shots on Wonderboy, and he still kind of like dominated him, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, it was just those
and Damian Maia,
those you know, big punches and stuff like that. It was spread throughout a 5-round fight, so it was just like overall the fight was there were not to say that there weren't a few exciting points in the fight, but it was just like overall the fight was kind of lackluster.
But I mean, that's the thing is people put the amount of like the amount of knockouts, the amount of submissions, the amount of crazy punches you throw in with being a great fighter. Great fighters mean you have to be technically sound. You have to wait for your time. You have to get your timing right. You have to wait for your shot. You have to be there. You have to be patient. You have to stick to your game plan. Tyron Woodley does that. A lot of people don't like when someone sticks to their game plan. A lot of people like a motherfucker who goes in there and Robbie Lawler's people. But not everybody does that. You can't do that. Why? Because this is fighting. You need a game plan. This is a game of chess. It's not fucking checkers. But, like I said, like, I used to not like Woodley. I used to think, like, oh, he got to the title picture a particular way, kind of like how Conor did. I used to say the same thing about Conor, that, like, Conor was good, but I felt like the way he got to the title picture shot, he fought a lot of people that were well beneath him. But, I mean, now that he's there, Woodley's showing out. Woodley beat Stephen Wonderboy Thompson twice, dominated Damian Maia, fucking beat the top young prospect Darren Till. I mean, right now he's fucking people up at welterweight. Like I said, if he dominates or beats Kamaru Usman and then also beats Colby Covington, I feel like those two welterweights are like the last two that really gotta. Once he gets those two, I feel like he's definitely in the talks for like GOAT of the welterweight division. And I think after that point, GSP should come back or try to come back and see, hey, I'm actually the GOAT.
But GSP says that he's feeling good. He's good to return into training. Like his health condition is good, but he's, you know, I also saw a picture of him not that long ago, and he was looking pretty small. So, you know, obviously there's been rumblings of him dropping on 155.
They don't want him to go down to 155.
But I mean, I think that's he's a guy that's driven by, you know, legacy. Like a legacy, and his thing would be like if he could win a belt in 3 divisions, that would be something no one's ever done.
I don't think he would defend the belt though. Here's the
thing. Yeah, but he's not. Yeah, and that's why maybe he won't. They don't want to give him the fight. He wants it because he wants the chance to do that, but they wouldn't want to give it because he's probably not going to defend it.
If Woodley beats Kamaru Usman and Colby Covington, I think if he gets done with like the welterweight division and like all that stuff, he'll want to fight George St. Pierre. You're like, yo, I want to fight the GOAT. Like, I know that I can beat George St. Pierre. And at that point, depending on how Tyron's looking, I mean, he could do it. I mean, GSP was looking pretty good at middleweight, even though he was heavier.
But yeah, but I don't think GSP wants it. It's. I don't think it's about.
Well, no, they talked about him actually in an interview, and he mentioned like, I'll fight Tyron Woodley, but he told him he's like a couple of fights short of being like proclaimed the greatest of all time. He's like, if he's at a point where he's like, he could be the greatest of all time, he's like, hey, this guy's probably better than GSP. I'll go to the welterweight division. Yeah. I'll beat him. But he's very much like, I want to get 3 belts. But yeah, back to like my original thing I was saying about like McGregor and like his whole like being the first double champ. When you look back on people like BJ Penn and Randy Couture who won 2 belts in 2 weight classes, it's like, all right, those guys freaking like, they were legends in the game. Like when they were fighting back then, they were dominating motherfuckers, and like they were defending champions and like all that other stuff. It was like good. I don't know. I just like,
I mean, BJ Penn not welterweight. I mean, he lost his first fight.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. But I just like BJ Penn at lightweight though. When he was lightweight champion, was like
he was dominant.
I think like Joe. Oh my god damn it! The space is too small. But yeah, Joe Rogan was talking about it, how he said there's like particular stints in people's careers where you could argue that this person is like the greatest of all time. We was talking about like when Anderson Silva like was like came into like the UFC, not came into the UFC, but when he fought when he beat Vitor, when he beat Stephen Bonner, like that was around the time that you could argue that he was fucking amazing. When he beat Forrest Griffin, you could argue that he was probably one of the greatest fighters of all time. BJ Penn, when he was at lightweight and beating Kenny Florian, Joe Daddy Stevenson, Diego Sanchez, making these guys who were like animals, and these guys who literally dominated the division, making them look like children, making them look like they didn't belong in the same fucking planet as him, that's when it's like, man, that was around the time when BJ Penn could have been proclaimed like the greatest of all time, because there's just like particular times in a fighter's life where everything kind of just comes together. Their reflexes, their speed, their in octagon IQ, all that stuff, and it just helps out. Like right before their head gets too big, or right before like they're like, oh, I've defended this title billions of times. Like whatever, won't train as hard for the next one. It's like there's these little stints, and I don't think Randy Couture, when he beat Tim Sylvia for the heavyweight title, it was like, holy shit, this 40-year-old man, 45-year-old dude is beating the heavyweight champion in a row. It was like 6'8". And who's like been fucking this whole division up. Could be the greatest of all time, Randy Couture right here. There's never really been a time where I thought Conor McGregor was the greatest of all time.
Well, that's the
or anybody
the
should
era.
talk
That's when everybody brings up an era, right? It's like, yeah. Oh, it's the old Lyoto Machida era. It's this guy era. It's
but
the
I mean,
era.
right now I just feel like, yeah, sure it could be the McGregor era, but not in terms of him fighting and beating people. He still hasn't fought Tony Ferguson. Still hasn't fought Kevin Lee. Still hasn't fought. He hasn't fought a lot of people at the lightweight division that were going up in the ranks. He didn't fight a lot of people I feel like he should have fought in the lightweight division. He didn't fight Michael Johnson.
Well, he's
that could have been a fight they could have had.
He's
they skipped him from like fighting Dennis Seaver, who was like number 8 or number 9, all the way up to fighting Connor. I mean, fighting Chad for the interim title.
I think because he's not just a fighter, he's a businessman. So he's taking fights, not just thinking of it like, you know, like a fighter, like, well, not as a fighter, like, I'll fight whoever you put in front of me, like, whatever.
I'm not questioning his hustle or his business sense in it. I mean, it's smart because he's making money fights. He made friggin' like what? He made like 7 figures fighting Eddie Alvarez and winning the lightweight title at MSG. Mm-hmm. He made like 100 mil fighting like Mayweather. He's smart. He knows what he's doing. He is definitely the smartest in terms of a business sense for his finances and getting fights and getting notoriety. He's definitely one of, if not the smartest MMA fighter in the game, or well to it of all time. But in my head, I'm just thinking like, he's our first official double champ. It's Conor McGregor was the first double champ, and then Daniel Cormier was our second double champ.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like if Daniel Cormier was our only double champ, or at least if Daniel Cormier was the first double champ, I'd be a lot happier with that.
What? So you're just upset that he's the first double champ?
Yeah, well, because I don't feel like he deserves it. I don't feel like he's done enough to, like, maybe, like I said, maybe in a business sense, maybe in a financial sense, sure. But in terms of him being, like, a great fighter and being, like, he can literally dominate both divisions, like, I don't think he can. Why? Because he He didn't even defend the featherweight title. He didn't defend the lightweight title. And there's so many people in the lightweight division he hasn't fought yet.
Well,
so I think it's too soon for. I mean, and I also feel like when conversations of the GOAT come up, that will come up. The fact that he was the first double champ. It's like, yeah, but that's it. It's like, what else is going to say that he was the greatest of all time? What, he had a mouth?
Well, he's I think it's all about the business decisions. He's like, because it's like he doesn't want to be the guy that's fighting, 3 or 4 times a year. He wants to
fighting once a year and then fighting for like
he wants to make his money and he wants to smart, but it's also smart, like, I guess you kind of, by not fighting so much, you kind of prolong your career way.
I don't think he's doing that for that though. I highly doubt it. He's doing it.
Well, he signed a signed a 6-fight deal with the UFC.
That is something I am very surprised about.
So he's definitely he's definitely planning on still on fighting.
That's something I'm very surprised about.
I think he's going to do it over time.
Deal, I was like, what? Really?
And he's also doing other things. He's got his whiskey. He's got his clothing company. Like, he's doing a bunch of stuff. I feel like he doesn't want to do those and also, like, fight a lot at the same time. I think that was one of the reasons.
He put a lot of his own money into those own, like, businesses, which he should have, definitely. I mean, that was smart for him to do that. He got $100 million from the Mayweather fight. Now he has his own whiskey and his own clothing line. And is it selling? Is it doing its thing?
I don't think the clothing line's out yet, and the whiskey I think just started selling. So I have no idea.
But yeah, like, that's smart that he's putting his money back into like a business or something like that. Definitely. But I mean, I'm very surprised though that he has an 8-fight deal now. We'll see how it goes.
I heard it was 6. It was 6. It was not 8.
I heard 8.
I heard 6? It was less. Yeah.
All right. Well, that's still a good amount of fights. You could do 6 fights in like.
Yeah, it's a lot. But I think he's going to spread them out.
Interesting.
And that way, he could focus on other things, and then also, maybe it's more like a, not like Ronda Rousey. I think Ronda Rousey was fighting pretty not very often, but like probably at least twice a year or so.
Right.
And she was also trying to do movies and do this and that. So maybe he's giving himself a little breathing room.
Yeah, that's true, actually. I mean, well, the difference between Ronda Rousey, though, was that everybody was telling Ronda Rousey, you're the greatest in the world, which was not the case, because she couldn't box. She couldn't strike.
Well, I'm sure people are telling Conor the same thing.
Well, I mean, yeah, but I mean, that's just Conor.
But maybe it's,
crew. That's just Conor and his crew and, like, all these fans. Like, Ronda Rousey, like, Joe Rogan was like, she's the greatest women's fighter of all time. And then when we saw what Holly Holmes did to her, we're like, maybe we were wrong.
Yeah, I mean, maybe because the coaches. I'm sure there's a big difference between.
I don't think anybody is like the amount of people breathing that down his neck. I don't think that that nearly exists because he could say that to himself. He's like, I don't need you to tell me I'm the greatest of all time. I know I'm the greatest of all time. He'll say that. But Ronda Rousey, everyone was saying you're the greatest of all time. She's like, you know what? You guys are right. I am. I'm strutting my shit, not worry about a goddamn thing going into Melbourne.
Yeah, but it's also, I think there's a difference, like, let's say, like, the way McGregor handled his loss to, like, Nate and her losing to Holly, Like, Nate went back and he's like, he shook his hand and he knew, and then I think he was going back, so he was like, man, I should have done this instead of that. I think he has a higher fight IQ than Ronda did.
Absolutely.
And, like, he can almost kind of train himself, like he knows.
If the pair of Nate Diaz fights showed us anything, it was that Conor McGregor is a very smart fighter. He's a very intelligent fighter. He knows what he needs to do. He fought Nate Diaz once, fought him the second time, and knew exactly what he had to do to win the points match, and knew exactly what he had to do to last the 5 minutes. He knew he couldn't knock him out, so he was like, all right, I got to do 25 minutes with this guy. How the fuck am I going to do this? Let me pick the first round to win. Maybe I'll give him the second. Maybe I'll give him the third, but then the fourth and the fifth, I got to go in. And that's kind of what he did. I think he still lost the 5th round, though.
Oh, in the second one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he also knew, like, he was like, I gassed out so fast in the first one, I need to spread it out. So, people were saying, he's running away. Well, he was really trying not to gas himself out.
That's what I mean. It's people don't fucking know what they're talking about when they say bullshit like that.
It's like, he knows that if I'm just going to keep swinging and swinging with this guy, especially because of how, Nate can take a punch and he can take a fucking punch. Well, he's just going to gas himself out, punching him in the face. So it's like...
Yeah, well, going back to what you said about, like, the difference between him and Ronda, yeah, it's true. I will give McGregor this. He does... take the whole fighting approach like a business, because like I said, when he lost to Nate, afterwards he got on the mic and he was like, hey man, he got me. He lasted longer than me.
Well, that was the fastest turnaround for him.
I got gassed out, like blah blah blah. This is that and the third. Like that's what happens. Well, no, but regardless of that, he took the loss and he was like, Nate was the better man tonight. What can I say? Ronda Rousey like legitimately got, like, I remember, depressed. She got into a depression. She didn't talk or see anybody for months. Yeah, dude, that's nuts. And I mean, that kind of happens. I don't know if it was like, just Ronda's general mental aspect of things.
Well, she seems kind of emotional.
Yeah. But I mean, it's crazy because Conor seems emotional too, doesn't he?
I think he comes off that way, but I think that's like on purpose. I don't think he's. I think he's a little more rational than he comes off as. I think it's just like
very irrational.
He's he's got that character to him. He's a very but I think like he can stop and look at things kind of calculated
and also to be fair, he has lost before. He had lost before.
Yeah, he lost when he was younger.
In King of the Cage or whatever it was, Cage Rage.
To Duffy.
Yeah, he lost to Duffy. I think he lost before that also. I think he's lost twice.
Maybe when he was an amateur, but I think that was his only professional loss was Duffy.
You might be right. Yeah. But yeah, so I guess like he would be used to like taking that kind of loss. But yeah, like I don't know, just in that sense, we'll see what he does in the lightweight division. I mean, if he beats Khabib, shut me the fuck up. Because he literally just beat Khabib, the one guy, and then he needs to beat Tony.
We'll see. Tony's fighting Pettis, so maybe he won't fight Tony. Who knows? Although I think Tony's gonna beat Pettis pretty.
That's
easily,
kind of no. If I mean,
Pettis looked good against Case, but Case is not Tony. So.
I was a big fan against Anthony Pettis, and I was a big fan of Anthony Pettis when he won the title. I believed in him, man. I believed in the Wheaties.
Everyone believed in him. Yeah, he's hyped up.
Box.
He had a quick, push very fast.
But I mean, it did. I mean, he beat Benson Henderson. He defended the belt against.
Yeah, he wasn't like a Sage Northcutt that they were just pushing like.
He beat Gilbert Melendez and did this and that. He did all that, but then afterwards it was
RDA.
It was RDA, yeah. But
RDA destroyed
like I said, RDA. I feel like at that point, talk about a fighter's prime. There's particular points in certain fighters' careers where if you put them up against somebody or anybody in the division, they will beat them. I truly believe that was around the time RDA could have beaten anybody in the lightweight division. He went on a tear. He beat Cerrone.
He beat Nate Diaz.
Then he beat Henderson, and then he beat he beat Nate Diaz after he beat Pettis. That was around the time where Cerrone, Henderson, Bendo, should I say, Pettis and Nate Diaz were running the lightweight division. RDA came out of nowhere from the fucking back of the line and just fucked everyone up. That's why when he went up to welterweight, I was like, holy shit! If he goes up to welterweight and like beats people, what he did to Robbie Lawler too. That's why I was thinking like, maybe he can fight for that welterweight.
He looked great, and even his fight against Colby, he looked good, but Colby just had the game plan, and he stuck to the game plan. And
sorry, I keep kicking the table, guys, and that's what keeps making the thing shake.
So your foot is so far away. Why do you keep freaking?
I like to flail about. I like to be free.
Flail?
I like to flail about. I like to just free myself in my space.
We'll just suspend you from the ceiling, and you can just hang. And you can flail all you want.
This took a turn for the very awkward.
But yeah, it's just Colby, and I'm not a big fan of Colby's fighting style, but it works.
I think anybody's a fan of Colby's. Nobody's a fan of Colby's anything, but everything that he does works.
Like if that fight wasn't like clinching battle, then I think RDA would have taken it.
Yeah, RDA.
But it was just constant, close the distance, clinch. Get you against the fence.
He's a smart
take
fighter.
Down here and there.
That's the thing with like wrestlers. Wrestlers are smart and they know how to fight the MMA.
Yeah, but it's like so boring because it's like they know how to win. They're gonna do anything to win. That's why. And if that means just a boring fight,
that's why some people say, hey, maybe GSP should have fought Ben Askren to see who really was the best welterweight at that time.
That would have been a snooze.
Unless GSP
or GSP at that time, I don't know. GSP was like had a weird.
That was when he wasn't around.
String of fights there where he was not really the most entertaining.
That was after, but that's after. Well, that's after he lost to Johnny Hendricks, though. That was when. Remember that?
No, leading up to that, even those last couple of fights, it wasn't really.
Well, I mean, but Ben Askren, was he around? He was in Bellator.
I'm talking about GSP, but Ben Askren, he was in Bellator for a long time.
I'm talking about when they were both like the best welterweights.
Yeah,
in the
and
world.
he was undefeated, and he was in Bellator defending the belt.
Yeah,
but he was just a lot of, lay and pray kind of. Ground and pound a little bit, but
I mean, it's a fighting technique that works. it works and it gets people wins. I mean, RDA has a pressing style too. Just the difference with like a fighter like RDA and a fighter like Colby Covington is RDA mixes it up with striking. He'll strike at you first, land a couple shots, daze you, then throw you on the ground. Colby Covington will fake a strike or fake something and then go in and grapple you like immediately. That's what makes it less fun. Just the fact that there's a little bit less striking. But RDA is pretty much the same. It's pressure, pounding on the ground, pressure until you could probably get a submission and get that in.
Like, I don't mind the
when they're on the ground. There's just
I don't mind wrestling.
Extra striking on the feet.
As long as it doesn't end up in just like the lay and pray shit. Like if you're good at taking people down and you're good at like ground and pound, you know, at least if there's some kind of action.
Like Khabib?
Yeah. At least if there's some kind of action.
Yeah.
You know?
Some people, I mean, I know like that's also there's like different styles of like laying and praying. Some people just like Tito Ortiz. Remember he like got full mount on motherfuckers. No, not even in the half guard position.
Yeah, he was good at ground and pound. He was the king of ground and pound.
Yeah, him and Khabib were like the king of ground and pound. But I mean, that's a fun fighting style because people see that and they're like, holy shit, this guy's literally mauling this dude. Like that's the difference between knowing how to strike and being a good ground and pound dude to like I guess laying and praying kind of thing. Laying and praying is just
Yeah, it's just, you know, you got to see these guys just kind of work more on the defensive wrestling, takedown defense. I think that's we're gonna have to see more of, you know, because a lot of fighters coming into MMA and they think it's just, you know, all striking and, you know, they're slowly realizing, huh?
Is anyone watching this? No, I mean,
I don't know. I think got somebody's in the dark corner over there with a cigarette. No, I don't know. But yeah, we're gonna have to see a lot, and maybe McGregor's got the answer. So you know, we'll see on Saturday.
If McGregor can, I mean it's crazy though. Like,
but I think it's all gonna be very strategic. But it's just the way, you know, he doesn't see it. Like I said, he doesn't see it like a lot of fighters that are just like, oh, I'm gonna take whoever's in line and fight. He's like, no, he's like, I'm gonna strategically fight whoever's gonna, you know, on my schedule, you know. So he's only gonna fight once, maybe twice a year if we're lucky, and he's gonna, you know, this person's gonna have to be, you know, earn him money, and he's gonna be at the top of the pack. And whether people agree with that or not, that's just kind of his thing. I don't think he's necessarily like scared to fight anybody, but I think it's just like at the end of the day, he's about his money. So, and the UFC is he's gonna get away with doing whatever he wants. And
I mean, because he makes them money too. It's not like he's just making. That's the thing, also, and one thing that I mean, I will give him is like he definitely does make money for the company. There's a lot of people like.
I'm sure a lot of fans wouldn't know the UFC if it weren't for Conor.
Yeah,
but a lot of casual fans.
Definitely. But I mean, there's a lot of people who are like money, like John Jones. When he fights again, people will want to see that.
Oh, you see all this trash talk, DCs?
Man, that's not gonna happen. I don't think
it's weird because before he was, especially when they first started asking him about it, he's like, you know, I don't want to. He's not gonna fight. He's like, listen, I'm fighting a heavyweight now. I'm only thinking about Brock Lesnar. I'm only this, and that. And now he's starting to talk a lot of shit with John Jones. And
well, I mean,
so I think maybe he wants that. I think maybe he wants that fight again.
They've been talking shit though. That's the thing. I feel like they've always like.
No, yeah, but he's it seemed like he kind of put John in the back and like in his past, in the rear view, so to speak.
Well, here's another thing too. I don't think DC would not respond to him on Twitter anyway, regardless of him like being in his rear view and like I'm not gonna fight you anyway. He'll literally be like, well, fuck you. Suck a dick.
No, but it's like, not just no. It's not like it's not just like responses. It's like he had one recently on Instagram where he put a bunch of pictures of John Jones and he's like, you know, like I've never been. Yeah. He's like, listen, I've been tested 70 times.
I mean, he's the only guy to have ever bested him in MMA twice. You know, I mean, I'm sure he does.
I think there's something in him. There's something in them.
Absolutely, I'm sure there's still a chip on DC's shoulder, and I'm sure there's a lot of people.
I almost feel like it's gonna happen.
If they fight at heavyweight, it's gonna be a different fight.
It was. I don't know if it was John Jones or DC, but one of them said that they would want it. They wanted it to be a light heavyweight. So I don't know.
I think UFC. They both wanted at light heavyweight. That's
one of them or both of them. I don't know which it was, but they said light heavyweight.
I think they're already talking about making Gustafsson and Jones for the interim.
Yeah, they were talking about that too.
Strap at I think December or like the end of November. I think for the
maybe that's the lead up. Maybe
Cyborg Nunes card, the Cyborg Nunes super fight, which is I think at like 232.
So maybe DC's he's like, because he said he was gonna retire in March of this year. I don't know why. That's very specific.
He's gonna be 40.
That's coming here.
He's gonna be 40 or 45, and that's why he said he was gonna be 40 when he retired when he's 40.
Yeah. So maybe he's changed his mind. Maybe he's now like, all right, I'm gonna fight Lesnar, get that paycheck, and then whoever wins, now maybe they're setting it up for whoever wins Gustafsson, John Jones.
That'd be pretty crazy. Actually.
Then he defends the light heavyweight.
Regardless of that, that's
in this interim.
Regardless, that's going to be a great fight because even if he fights Gustafsson again,
that was a great fight.
That was a really good fight. Had it not been for like Jones Gustafsson, that probably would have been the best light heavyweight title fight of all time. I think that was a great fucking fight. Had both fighters had their moments. That was one of the first times. That was the first time DC got dropped with strikes. John Jones didn't even drop him with strikes in their first outing. Remember? Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure John Jones took him down, but John Jones never knocked him down and got him wobbly. That was like a great fucking fight. And afterwards, they both embraced each other. It was a good fucking thing. I would love a part 2 of that.
Well, you know what's cool, right?
Part 3 of him and Jones.
Is you might get...
I could watch him and John Jones fight forever.
You'll get Gustafsson Jones 2, and then you might get either DC Jones 3 or DC Gustafsson 2.
Yeah.
Everybody wins.
It's a good thing. Yeah, I don't mind it at all.
I like the way that this is shaping up. I don't really care to see anybody else in light heavyweight.
At this point right now, though, it'd be funny. It'd be crazy, and I could see him doing this. Let's say Gustafsson wins the fight with Jones, and Gustafsson will probably challenge DC. He'll be like, hey, man, I don't need to cut weight. I'll fight you for your belt. And it's light heavyweight champ versus heavyweight champ. I think ultimately it will be light heavyweight versus heavyweight again. That kind of thing. Because I think if John Jones and Gustafsson, I think they have him set up to fight for either the vacant or the interim light heavyweight title. I don't think they're going to fight DC for that light heavyweight title. I think they're going to try to fight DC for the heavyweight belt so they can be a double...
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
No. I don't think that makes sense.
Why wouldn't that make... Well, no, it doesn't make sense for the UFC. It makes sense for themselves. Gustafsson could sell that fight because it'd be like, hey, the first time me and DC fought, it was 5 rounds. It was really close. He won that light heavyweight. I have the light heavyweight title now. I want to beat him for his heavyweight strap. Light heavyweight champ versus heavyweight champ. It doesn't sound like a good idea. But you got to think like the UFC, bro.
Yeah, but
you got to think that money fight.
It's
like you saw these fights at light heavyweight. Now for the heavyweight title, Gustafsson.
Well, DC could fight at heavyweight. These other two guys, they don't know.
You don't know that, but they
I don't think they're gonna want to.
They can. Jones has spoken about him wanting to fight heavyweight, and Gustafsson cuts down from like 235.
Yeah, but I think they're probably gonna get. I think they'll get fucked up at heavyweight, to be honest. Nah, I don't think. I think it's gonna be light heavyweight. I think it's gonna be an interim fight between those two, and then DC fights some at light heavyweight for the title.
I don't think so. I don't think DC is gonna drop back down.
And then he could retire the heavyweight.
That's what I mean. That's what I'm saying. Like I don't think DC is gonna drop down. I don't think he's gonna drop down to light heavyweight anymore. He wants to, but he's getting older, and it's gonna be harder for him to make that weight. And it's smarter.
I guess
it's smarter for a man of his age to fight at heavyweight.
I think maybe
he doesn't have to cut that weight. He doesn't have to worry about cutting weight. All he needs to worry about is training and getting stronger to knock motherfuckers out.
I think that he fights. I think if Jones beats Gustafsson, then DC fights Jones. But I think if Gustafsson wins, DC retires. I think the only fight that will keep DC active is Jones. I don't think he's going to fight Gustafsson. And he's even said before, like, they've gone back and forth, and Gustafsson's called out DC a bunch of times. He's like, yeah, I already beat you, bro. Like, this
barely.
And they were talking shit. I think Jones and DC were talking kind of shit in tandem to Gustafsson, but like, oh, bro, like the only claim, like that you have on it, like your best fights or whatever were, your losses to us. So it was just like like they were both talking shit to Gustafsson.
Yeah, I know. It's so.
And it kind of is. I mean, those are great fights, but he did lose. So yeah, I think
thing that him and Jones like agree on. Finally, me and you agree on one thing. Gustafsson's the best.
The enemy of my enemy is my friend.
There you go.
But yeah, I think DC retires if Jones loses.
Yeah.
But
it'd be a good scenario though. It'd be a crazy scenario if either one, John Jones or Gustafsson, win the light heavyweight belt, and right after they do that, and like, hey DC, I'll beat you for your title. Like, fuck you and Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar versus DC though. That's gonna be a fight.
It's freak show. You know, it's a money fight. It's
absolutely
DC's gonna beat him.
Yeah,
DC will beat him.
God, he beats him. Oh my God, I want him to knock him out.
I think that
I want him to do him worse than Miocic. I felt real bad when Miocic got knocked out by Cormier. Like I just I don't know. He literally just got an uppercutted and knocked it was like a flash knockout. So it was like a fucking A.
It was nice.
It was just a sudden.
That was such a quick, sharp punch.
It was just a sudden end to his
Yeah, I feel bad for him.
Heavyweight title fight. Yeah.
And he hasn't fought since. And then, I don't know. I feel like he's gonna be waiting around a while.
Yeah, maybe. He might have.
I think that who's It's kind of weird to me that Blades is fighting Ngannou. Doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Because Ngannou's just coming off of 2 losses in a row, and Derek Lewis at least is won his last fight against Ngannou. So I'm surprised he's not fighting him. Or I would like better him fighting Stipe.
I think they're forcing Ngannou to fight wrestlers right now. They're making him fight wrestlers. They're making him fight dudes that could grapple him because that's where he sucks.
So, are they trying to bury him or something?
Maybe. Well, they do that sometimes.
Trying to punish him?
Yes, absolutely. Haven't you noticed the UFC does that a lot? If they're prospects that they push up too fast.
Like we hyped you up and you let us down, so we're gonna
give you every single hard fucking fight. I don't have anything to back this up right now. I could probably look through my shit right now to do it. But if I did some research, if I did some research, I could bring up old prospects who were put to fight the champ too soon, and then afterwards were put through the ringer and put to fight all these top prospects that were just not good matchups for them. But Curtis Blades is not a great matchup for him because Curtis Blades is a wrestler. Yeah. Derek Lewis is not a great matchup for him. Why? Because Derek Lewis takes motherfuckers down and lay and praise on them. Miocic was not a good matchup for him. Right now they're giving him not good matchups. I don't think it's a conspiracy. I think it's a way for them to force their fighters to better themselves in that area. They see that Ngannou has no wrestling. They're like, all right, we're going to put you with wrestlers unless you lose enough for us to fire you or you get it that you need to get your wrestling up when you're in the UFC.
Yeah, I think the sport's evolving, and the skill ceiling is getting higher. Mm-hmm. So it's just everyone, you got to realize, listen, there's a threat everywhere, right? It's going to be on the feet, on the ground, somewhere. You got to have everything covered because somebody's going to expose that.
Exactly. And I feel like the UFC, especially with their matchmaking, they set people up to essentially show them that. Because if you have noticed, when a person, let's say, wins 3 or 4 in a row, and then they get dominated by somebody in one particular aspect of the fight game, whether it be striking or grappling, after that, they put that person against just a bunch of strikers, just a bunch of grapplers. Because they're like, all right, this person lost his grappling individual. They're a knockout artist, but they got out-grappled. Bet. I bet if Anthony Johnson was still around, after he lost to DC twice, in a wrestling game, they probably would have put him up against Curtis Blades. Why? Not Curtis Blades. They probably would have put him up against, who was that other wrestler? The wrestler that DC went against.
That DC what?
That DC went
Stipe?
Against. No. There was in light heavyweight.
Oh, in light heavyweight?
Yeah.
Wrestler in light heavyweight. I'm not sure.
Well, anyway. Well, what I'm trying to get at is I'm pretty sure that it doesn't really matter, it doesn't really matter about the hype train or how much they like the person. They'll put that person through the ringer with essentially style matches that don't go in their favor. Like I said, to kind of force them to better themselves in that particular area, or to, listen, you kind of suck.
Sink or swim?
Yeah, exactly. He's like, yeah, to sink or swim. Oh, you lost 3 or 4 in a row by knockout? I guess we can, buy you out of your contract now. They do that a lot. I feel like that they might be doing that with Ngannou. Would you really,
but I feel like it was bad for
Would you really put it past the UFC to, be petty like that?
I mean, I don't know about petty. I don't know about them being petty. Dana White, maybe. He's a pretty petty guy.
He's a pretty petty guy. Yeah. Come on, Dana. Stop being so petty with your fighters. But, yeah, man.
A lot of stuff going on. So.
We can't think about talking.
Huh?
We can't even think about. I'm excited for Tony Ferguson coming back. I want to see how Tony Ferguson's doing. That crazy son of a bitch and all of his training videos on Instagram and all that crap scare me. Every time I see that man train, I think something is going to pop out. Whether it's a shoulder or a kneecap.
Well, just because that one freak accident kind of sucks. But yeah, he's coming back. It looks like Poirier and Nate might be non-title 155 main event.
That was
just because they don't have any options. And
for a while,
they're trying to force the 165.
For a while, it seemed like Poirier
but I
and
don't think they're
Diaz
gonna do
were
it.
trying to force a new weight class, 165, trying to force like a new whatever. It was interesting because it was almost like we were talking about it. It's almost like they were trolling the UFC and trying to
they're trying to pressure them into it.
Pressure them into making the 165
or like build interest in the fans.
Yeah,
for the fans to be like, yeah, we want to see the 165.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean,
but I don't know if it's working.
I don't think so.
I think they're gonna do. It's a big fight.
Do you think they're still scrambling? The UFC? I don't think they're scrambling anymore. I think they're kind of like,
man.
Poirier versus Nate Diaz for the 5-rounder. Like you said, that's the first time they haven't had a non-title fight.
It's at the end of November, right?
November 3rd. No, November 3rd. Beginning of November.
I'm sorry. Exactly.
Yes, November 3rd and then November 10th.
So
the week after that
they've got
25th anniversary.
They've got a week. I mean, a week. They got a month. So there's nothing really they can do right now.
Yeah, I don't think so.
It's either they announce the 165 or they make it non-title. I think it's just going to be non-title. I mean, it's a big fight. It's basically like the next fight. It's basically a title eliminator.
Yeah, it is.
Which is not.
It shouldn't be.
An MSG in a pay-per-view main event, but. They don't really have a lot of options, so this is the best they could do for them.
If Tony Ferguson comes back and looks great, though.
I mean, he got kind of like
he got
swept under the rug.
He got kind of fucked. He got fucked. Like that's when he goes to fight Pettis, he needs to show out. Like he needs to literally
I think he needs
do
to go on
his
the mic.
dance moves. He needs to go on the mic and be like, "You motherfuckers forgot about me. Like this is what the fuck I do." Khabib's undefeated.
He's not the best on the mic.
Khabib's undefeated. I'm 12. If he beats Pettis, he's on a 12-fight winning streak, isn't he, or an 11-fight winning streek? His winning streak right now is longer than Khabib, who is the undefeated guy.
No, Khabib's 26-0. He's got 26.
No. But Khabib is right now on a 9-fight winning
UFC?
streak. Yeah, Khabib is on a 9-0 winning streak right now. I think Tony is either 11-fight winning streak or 12-fight winning streak. I'm pretty sure he's past 10. But yeah, he's. Need to pay attention to my boy, El Cocoy.
Yeah.
He's a man.
And he's 34 now, man.
He won the interim title.
He needs to get going.
He won the interim title, dude. He's the one that deserves it.
True.
I think, what's his name? Dana White's just tired of trying to make that fight happen. Tired of making that him and...
Oh, no, he's on 10 fight right now. So this would be 11 fights.
This would be 11 fights.
He lost to Michael Johnson.
When?
In 2012.
Oh, that was like the last time he lost, though, right?
Yeah, that was a long time ago. He's got 10 fights, 10 wins.
And Khabib, I think, is 9-fight winning streak, right? I will say this. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. I love Conor. I think he's definitely one of the top lightweights in the world. If he wins the belt, he'll be the lightweight champion. The fight to make is Khabib versus Tony. It will happen.
Well, that's the fight that's eluded us for so long.
It will happen. Regardless of what anyone says, it will happen. I say 5th time's the charm. I don't know why.
No, he also has 10 right now.
Huh?
Khabib also has 10. They both have 10 fights.
Shit.
10-fight win streak.
If Khabib wins and Tony wins, what other fight is there? I mean, yeah, you could do Poirier and Diaz. I don't know. I just feel like
one of
whoever wins Poirier versus Diaz, that can go against Khabib. But I mean, if Tony shows out, so they're like, yo, I was the interim title.
Maybe it depends on who wins more decided.
Imagine Tony brings the belt. I think that's what Tony Ferguson needs to do. I know that's what Kobe's going to do.
Bring his belt.
Kobe Covington is going to bring his interim title the next time he fights in the UFC, and he's going to be like, yo, I'm the real fucking champion. See, I got the belt right here. Pull a Conor. Literally bring your belt to the ring and be like, yo, what happened? I won this belt a couple months ago. Now all of a sudden I'm not the champion? What's up? Nobody's beating me. He needs to make some noise. He needs to make some noise so he can skip Poirier and Diaz, because Poirier and Diaz skipped him already. He needs to re-skip his skippies.
Wow.
Or his skippers.
And he's fighting Saturday as well as they're the co-main for this fight. So I guess it all depends on whether or not they make that a title fight. Otherwise, that's basically number one contender. it's it's weird because they put him up against Pettis, and Pettis obviously is. I don't think he's. This fight is not a title eliminator. Like, if somehow Pettis wins this fight, there's no way they're giving him a title shot. Like, he doesn't deserve that.
Absolutely not. He'll say, but they won't. I think that's why they have Poirier and Diaz.
That's why I think that's actually
a backup. Yeah, why that's straight up like a backup. And I get it, I guess, but imagine if Poirier beats Diaz.
It's weird because I guess it really all depends on who wins. I think if Khabib wins, then it makes sense. It kind of makes sense to have Ferguson fight him because that's the fight that people have been waiting for. That they've tried to make that fight like 3 or 4 times, or like 3 times, 2 or 3, 4 times.
4 times.
And it just never happened.
This is literally the 5th fucking time.
And they have, I guess, and then in that sense, they have some kind of history there. Nate Diaz and Poirier, they don't specifically, but Nate Diaz, if he wins, maybe they'll want to use him just because of his name and he's got the money. If Poirier wins, I don't think so. I think if Poirier wins and Khabib wins, there's no way. If Poirier, Khabib, and Tony win, it has to be Tony Khabib, because that Khabib Poirier though that would be a great fight. They're not there's not enough interest there. I think. But if Conor wins, then I think you have more of a chance of whoever wins Nate versus Poirier, because Nate and Conor had that trilogy for the
lightweight title.
And Poirier had fought and lost to Conor before.
He fought and lost to Conor
before.
So
maybe there's like a rematch.
Better. So yeah, there's like a match.
And that was at 145. Now this is at 155.
I feel like everybody that's in right now the main lightweight picture, Ferguson, Poirier, Diaz, they all have a good. They all have a solid history with Conor.
Not really Tony.
Well, other than Tony. Tony, because that's a brand new fight. Tony that still has interest, though.
Tony's best scenario would be Khabib winning and Poirier winning.
I don't think so. I guess so. That is true, but I want to see Conor fight Tony. I honestly think the 2 people who have Conor's number are Tony and Khabib. And I feel like if Khabib beats him now, and then Tony beats Conor, then it's like, who else do they both have left? You know what I mean? Because they'll skip over Poirier. If Ferguson beats Pettis, Khabib beats Conor. You're absolutely right about that. I think they'll skip over Poirier, and give it to Tony, because that's you have such a big story with that fight. The fight that took 4 years to literally happen. It's literally been 3 years. It's 2015 they tried it once, 2016 twice, last year once, and now once again. I don't even think they're going to be able to make the fight in 2018. They're going to have to try to make the fight in 2019. So it's almost been 5 years in the making. It's fucking crazy.
Yeah, and there's this one video, if no one's seen it. And it's on Vimeo. It's like a fan-made promo for Khabib Ferguson for the last fight. And it's called "How Long Must I Wait?" And it's it's an interesting promo. It's kind of funny the way that it was made, but that kind of sums it up. It's like, how long before these guys fucking fight?
Yeah, true. True. I think they'll fight in 2019. I really I don't know. Maybe they were meant to fight. It was meant to be. I keep thinking that. I don't believe in a lot of things. God.
I believe in fate.
God, hope, all that other nice stuff. I don't believe in any of that.
Pineapples on pizza?
But I believe that is not gross.
I know. I'm kidding.
If you had pepperonis, it's not.
Whoever says it isn't, fuck you.
You're not a fan of Great Court of God if you don't like pineapple on your pizza.
It's delicious.
Regardless.
Try it with pepperoni.
Try it with pepperoni. But no, yeah, that's the fight I've been wanting to see for 3 years. I've been wanting to see Tony versus Khabib for the longest time. Everybody has. That's a fight that nobody's been able to see. And I always feel like for the past 2 years, and it hasn't changed, that's the fight to make. Khabib knows it. Right now he has McGregor in the sights, and he's like, all right, let me take out this guy. Because Khabib, for all we know, he's like, if I beat Conor after this, Tony's it, right? And Tony's probably thinking the same thing. I don't think Tony's even thinking about Conor. I think they literally both have each other in each other's sights. They're like, this is going to happen eventually. If anything, maybe I wouldn't put it past maybe, like, because you said Conor has that contract where he probably is fighting once a year now. So I wouldn't put it past Conor that if Conor wins, he'll be like, yeah, I don't want to fight until next summer. So if that's the case, then the winners of, if Tony does beat Pettis, he would have to go against the winner of Poirier-Diaz. Because
I think it all depends.
Fight would have to happen before whomever goes against Conor.
I think it all depends. Because Conor, because like I say, if Nate wins,
I can see,
and Conor wins, maybe Conor's like, let's get that fight going, and then he might fight sooner because
that's true.
That's
you could make that
a
money.
Dream matchup for him.
That's true. Yeah.
He wants to have that rematch, that trilogy, just so that he can make that money. Also, what happens if the UFC does do the 165-pound belt?
I doubt that.
Maybe Conor wins, and I think the way that he thinks, if there is a 165-pound belt, he might be like, shit, I want to crack at that
165 belt. Yeah,
I want to be a triple champ.
There you go, and then he might do that. He could do that.
I think he would do that. I think he would want that.
I wouldn't put it past the UFC.
I think GSP would also want that.
There you go. Actually, if the UFC makes a 165,
we forgot about GSP. GSP might, he's in the cards too. Just, the UFC doesn't necessarily want that because they know he's probably not going to defend the belt. He's only going to take certain fights, which is the same thing with freaking Conor. They don't need two of these guys fucking doing that shit. But who knows? What if GSP skips everybody? What if Conor wins and then they skip everybody and GSP is like, I want the 155 belt. I want to fight Conor.
Or 165 belt.
Or if something happens with 165 and he's like, I want to fight 165.
I think we just realized how the UFC could make more money. Yeah, if they make 165 like the super fight division, where people from lightweight and people from welterweight go to fight each other.
Conor and or GSP is going to be involved in that division if they
Absolutely.
Make it somehow.
Absolutely. And I mean, then if Conor and or GSP have that belt, they'll just be doing like fights with the welterweights they can never fight or the lightweights that they can never fight.
If Conor beats Khabib, I want to see him fight GSP.
You want to see Conor fight GSP?
I do.
Really?
If he beats Khabib, because if Conor can, withstand, and can somehow and can defend against Khabib's wrestling and pull off a win, I'm really interested to see what he can do against GSP.
I guess that is true. I think GSP is a little bit. I mean, maybe he's getting there where he's like a little bit past his prime. I don't know. We haven't seen him fought as often, but I think GSP is a different monster. I think GSP's wrestling is crazy and his striking is crazy. Like in both games,
I feel like interesting fight.
It would be an interesting fight, but
I think that's the fight to make
at lightweight. I think we just figured out UFC's headliner for International Fight Week next year. George St. Pierre versus Conor McGregor for the lightweight strap. If Conor McGregor beats Khabib and Tony, or Khabib and Nate, or basically whoever his next opposition may be.
I could see Khabib wins.
But you're right, though. I can definitely see
Conor wins and Nate loses. If Conor wins, Nate loses.
Well, if like Conor wins and Nate loses, then they're probably going to wait to see if Tony wins. If Nate loses and Poirier wins, depending on how Poirier wins, they might wait until to see, like, let's see how Tony beats Pettis. And if Tony beats Pettis in, like, the first or second round, technically has bigger claim than Poirier does.
Poirier wins. Tony wins. Conor wins.
I don't think we're going to have
Conor fights GSP. Tony fights Poirier.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to see I don't think we're going to see the light heavyweight strap get defended again until at least like next summer, or the end of the spring. Which is why I think there's going to be one more fight against the top contender. Like if Poirier wins,
there's going to be another title eliminator. Like
yes.
Fight, yeah.
And like if Poirier wins and Ferguson wins, I could see that being a title eliminator sometime in like the winter or the spring.
Yeah, but unless Nate, I think if Nate wins,
then I think Conor fights Nate almost like before at the beginning of next year.
But if anybody else wins,
Conor will wait.
Conor wins, he's probably
Conor will wait for International Fight Week.
He'll probably fight GSP.
I wouldn't be surprised if Conor would be like, hey, honestly, I want to fight International Fight Week.
That would be the biggest fight.
And the MSG card.
That would be the biggest fight of all time. Conor versus GSP for the belt.
That would be a crazy fucking fight. And then Conor's like, no, I want it. And then
he would take that fight.
And then GSP is like, I fucking want it. That would be a big money fight. That would be
the biggest pay-per-view of all time.
I want to see how the light division pans out though, because I want my lightweight fighters to get
but it's
their
weird,
just
right?
desserts. I want my lightweight fighters to get their title shots, but I do want to see GSP go against.
I do want to see that fight. But it's gonna be weird because GSP doesn't really play into the trash talk game. And you saw, like, with him and Bisping, like, Bisping was trying so hard.
It all depends. It all depends on how Conor does with Khabib, though. If he somehow totally, like, not, like, neutralizes,
he just knocks him out.
Like, not even, well, yeah, that. I mean, he could do that. Conor could do that. But if he somehow neutralizes Khabib's wrestling, which I doubt he will, I don't think anybody can, but he somehow...
So if he doesn't just knock him out, if he actually is challenged and...
I mean, if he is challenged...
No, I'm saying, like, he's challenged by Khabib's wrestling, and he actually defends it.
Regardless of that, I feel like if he wins, if he wins in a way where it's clear that Khabib's, like, dominant wrestling doesn't have an effect on just Conor's overall MMA prowess, then it's like, all right, try to fight the super fight, man. Try to fight GSP. Because GSP's... Regardless of, like, what anybody says about him fighting and stuff like that, he was probably the first fighter and the first champion to mix up the transitions between striking and takedowns so fluently. Like, the lightweight fighters right now, like Demetrius Johnson and, like, the bantamweights and the featherweights, the way they do it right now when they go from, like, grappling to, like, striking, they do it that quick because of their speed. All power to them, and it's definitely makes it for an interesting fight. But GSP was the first dude to be able to land accurate strikes on somebody, take them down, ground and pound their ass, and literally go from striking to grappling like that. People can't do it and flow into that. It's a lot more difficult than, like, people give it credit to flow from grappling to striking or striking to grappling. GSP was the first person to do it, and it was like, whoa, holy shit, look at this motherfucking move.
He was like that next evolution of
Absolutely.
fighter. You know, you had, like...
Even to
and
the
he
point
came
where,
into the, you know, when they had the... You know, like, Matt Hughes was really dominant and stuff. He came in and he was like, hey, old guy, I'm going to come in and I'm mixing everything up. I'm mixing everything together.
Yep.
And he was constantly, you know, getting better and getting better.
Now, and, like, thinking about it right now, the way that he lost to Hendricks and the way that Hendricks talks about his weight in general, how he's like, after a fight day, I balloon up and I weigh 205 pounds the next day, like, after a fight. That's insane. So technically, they put him up against a middleweight. They put GSP up against a middleweight, and GSP still technically beat him.
And let's be honest, Johnny was on the juice.
I feel like he was on the juice. If he wasn't on the juice, he was on some sort of weight cutting, like, you know, thing he shouldn't have been taking, or he was just doing some shit. Because there's no way you can cut that much weight and, like, still
he was on the
maintain.
gear.
And he was still great on fight night. There was no natural way that you could do that and still maintain the fighting prowess that he had that night.
I think Johnny did beat him, though.
Even if he wasn't, he was fighting a bigger, stronger fighter that should have been fighting. Yeah, it's kind of scary. Like,
how do you fight against this guy who's just?
But there you go.
Like, pummeling his punches are just fucking, like, that's gotta hurt, man. And you saw GSP's face after that fight. He took some fucking punches.
Yeah, he did. And he didn't get knocked out. He literally took punches from a guy who should have been a weight class above him.
And who had been knocking everybody
motherfuckers out. Yeah, and he still, like, maintained the shit. He said himself that, like, when he took punches in I'm sure that one fight with Johnny Hendricks put him back way more than, like, a combination of all the fights he had before that. Because right before that, he fought Carlos Condit. And before that, he fought Nate.
No, he didn't Diaz. And then before that, Carlos Condit.
Yeah. No. I'm saying right before Johnny Hendricks, he fought Condit, and then before that,
it was
Condit,
Diaz, Hendricks.
You're right. But those are probably like the three toughest fights of his life, where he took probably the most damage. Like, before Condit, he didn't really take that much damage. He went against Koscheck, he fucking dominated Koscheck.
And Condit fight, he didn't take that much damage. Diaz, he didn't take that much fight. Or damage.
And Condit, take a look back at the Condit fight.
He took a couple of hits, but for a lot of that fight, he had him on his back.
In terms of George St. Pierre taking damage, he took more damage in that fight than anything.
Condit looked okay, even on his back. He was throwing some stuff. But Diaz, it was just, he was grounding him, kind of pounding him.
It's crazy because when you look at people like George St. Pierre and like Tyron Woodley, who have a particular boring kind of fighting style, but then you really, because they have a laid-back, quote-unquote boring fighting style, sometimes when they're just being smart and technical about it, you forget about how fucking crazy they are at fighting. Like, Tyron Woodley can knock any motherfucker out. George St. Pierre can out-wrestle and make you look like a bitch. He make Michael Bisping. I mean, Michael Bisping got a couple of shots on him, but then afterwards,
it was mostly stand up.
Yeah,
that fight.
But even though after that, GSP was able to take him down, and literally when he got him on the ground, subbed him out, did what he had to do, with him and stuff like that.
I need to see GSP again.
GSP is people forget
because he fought Bisping.
He's definitely that GOAT status is, but I mean, he still fought at a heavier weight class, and he still beat the champion.
Impressive, but it was just like
Michael Bisping when Michael Bisping was at a point in his career where he was still doing good.
Yeah, but
he could have been on his way out, sure. But I mean, he was like
he fought Hendo. He fought. What else did he fight? Was Hendo's only defense?
Hendo was his only defense.
Okay, yeah, he fought Hendo. He had like I mean, some people want to say a lucky, knockout against Rockhold. I think Rockhold wasn't prepared for that.
Yeah,
he
absolutely.
Didn't think that was gonna happen.
Rockhold wasn't prepared for that. He didn't think it was going to happen. He didn't take the fight seriously. All that in itself does not spell out luck for Bisping. That spells out that Bisping was the more prepared fighter that night. That's what spells it out. And if you're the more prepared fighter, luck has nothing to do with it.
Yeah,
Bisping won that belt. Well, won that belt, and he deserved to win that belt because he fought the way that he should have. He didn't get a lucky punch on Luke Rockhold. Luke Rockhold fought the way he did with his arms low.
He's like, "Oh, I'm just gonna beat this guy.
I'm just gonna beat this guy." Exactly. And then Michael Bisping took advantage of that, beat him. He didn't get lucky. He was the better fighter that night.
GSP.
But yeah, GSP.
He still has it. How much of it does he still have? I don't know.
Like I
do want to see him versus Conor.
We'll see how Conor does against Khabib. If Conor beats Khabib, then it's like shit. Him against GSP is sounding like a good idea. Just in terms of a money fight, and I guess when you think of it in terms of skills, yeah, sure. In terms of what GSP wants to do,
it's all dependent on what happens Saturday.
All of it kind of falls into like the perfect storm, if you will. Dana doesn't like it, but
doesn't matter. I'm gonna make a lot of fucking money.
Yeah, IMG don't give a fuck what Dana has to say for making money. I can definitely see IMG like Dana White will tell him like, yeah, this doesn't make sense. Hey, is this gonna make us money? Dana will go, yeah, it will. Sorry, buddy.
That's all that matters.
Sorry, Mr. Vice President, who probably won't be Vice President long because he's getting tired of the way the sport is going.
All right, well, you want to wrap it up?
Yeah, I was just going to say it's looking like 1:30. That's looking like a good way to wrap it up. We went from talking about Bellator to possibly Conor McGregor fighting GSP at International Fight Week in 2019. I don't know how we segue to that, but that's kind of how we do it here at Three Quarter Guard Podcast.
Yeah, we're just kind of loosey-goosey this week.
We're loosey-goosey this week. Like we said, we haven't been coming to you guys for 5 or 6 weeks, even though I think my wife is probably the only one watching. Hi, Albie. But, we want to come in and we want to start giving people the content and building up our own content. And like we said, we want
to have some more fun.
Yeah, we want to have some more fun with this. We're going to start showing up on social media more. I know we've been saying that a lot, but we're going to probably start putting up more stories, I think, on social media, doing a lot less journalistic stuff. We'll probably still do random fight announcements, but probably just like title fights, big deal fights, kind of things like that. But more so sticking to stories. Check out in our stories. We're going to be announcing, next week and certain news coming up. But yeah, right now we're thinking about where we're gonna take the Three Quarter Guard podcast name. We still want to do the podcast on a weekly basis, but like we said before, we're thinking about coming up with some original content. Three Quarter Guard, of course, we have our own lives to deal with, so it's very difficult for us to meet in the week and talk about our podcast. But like I said, we're gonna do our damnedest to try to give you guys this weekly podcast again. We know we've been gone for a majority of the summer, but like I said, we've been moving and trying to just situate certain things in our own brand. But we will be back next week at noon. We will start this up on a weekly basis again. We'll be coming to you next week.
We'll recap 229.
We will recap 229. Holy shit. The biggest fight in UFC history, I guess. That's how they're promoting it. Khabib Nurmagomedov versus Conor McGregor for the lightweight title. Don't forget to watch it. October 6th? October 6th is Saturday, right?
Yes.
October 6th. Prelims on Facebook. Prelims on Fight Pass start at 6:30, I think, 6 o'clock.
I don't know. Look it up, you goddamn selves.
Fox Sports 1 prelims start at 8. Main event card starts at 10 on pay-per-view. Check it out. Great bunch of fights. Tony Ferguson is also fighting Anthony Pettis.
Yeah, Ovince St. Preux, Dominic Reyes, Derek Lewis, Alexander Volkov. That's pretty good. Michelle Watterson, Felice Herrig.
I like that one. And also, Sean O'Malley is fighting on that card as well, yes?
Oh, he might be on the undercard.
Is Artem Lobov fighting? Is the GOAT Artem Lobov fighting on that card? I think Sergio Pettis might be fighting on that card as well.
You got Sean O'Malley, Jose Quinones, Sergio Pettis, who's here for Miga, Vicente Luque versus Jalen Turner, Aspen Ladd, Tanya Evinger, Lena Landsberg, Yana Kunitskaya, Scott Holtzman, Alan Patrick, Gray Maynard, Nick Lentz, interesting, Ryan LaFleur, and Tony Martin. So that's
it's not a bad card.
Solid card, yeah.
It's a really good solid card. There's a lot of good names there.
Be interesting on the card. You might have a couple of.
I have a couple of upsets.
Good fights
on there.
A
couple of knockouts, a couple of subs.
See.
Looking forward to Michelle Watterson versus Felice Herring. We'll see how that goes. Even though I'm totally behind Karate Hottie. And Volkov versus
Derek Lewis.
We'll see what happens there.
Hopefully Derek Lewis is back.
Derek Lewis didn't want to fight in Russia. Fighting in Las Vegas. Black men don't like to go to Russia apparently. But we got that going on. Tony Ferguson versus Anthony Pettis. And of course the main event, Khabib versus Conor. We'll see how that goes. That'll be coming in from Vegas.
Everybody should watch that shit.
Once again, we will be here next week, Sunday at noon.
October 7th. 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
We'll be announcing a lot more of our stuff on our social media. Maybe trying to put out a lot more of like, hey, watch us at 12. Making more people know so it's not just my wife watching us. But, we're glad that you joined us. And we will catch you guys next week. From me and the boy, Eamon Shane Tierney the 7th to my left over here. Say just good day.
Zip it up and zip it out.
Peace. Can't think of anything else.